Welcome to the Dr. Mudgil podcast. This is episode 177. We are just coursing our way through April here. And you know what they say is those April showers bring May flowers. It has certainly been the truth this year. It's been pretty rainy. It's actually very sunny and cold today. Unseasonably cold. But listen, the grass is turning green. The flower buds are popping out of the soil. And spring is most certainly in the air, which makes me very, very, very happy. So with spring in the air, this podcast is directed predominantly to all of the wonderful high school seniors that are out there, my daughter being one of them. This is an exciting time of year for seniors. You know, all of the college admissions are essentially in at this point, and there's like a month to try to figure out where you want to commit. You know, many students have already committed to their universities of choice. You have until like May 1st to do it. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because it's just a huge topic, actually, in our household, understandably, all year long, as my daughter's been coursing through the college admissions process. And I could tell you, I think I had a similar, I don't know if I had a podcast or a post about it last year or maybe 2 years ago, just about how brutal the process has actually become. You know, like when I was applying for college, many moons ago. I mean, gosh, in 1992, I think I applied for college. I started college in 1993. It was a very formulaic process. You know, basically like, you know, these were your SAT scores, these were your grades, this was your class rank. And then you basically, you know, had a pretty good idea of the schools that were like, you know, hard reaches, schools that you were probably going to get into. And then everyone applied to a couple of safety schools. In fact, when I was applying for college, I literally just looked at the U.S. News top 25 list, and I think I picked like 10 schools off of that list, you know, basically between 1 and 25. And as I mentioned before, you know, I went to Emory University in Atlanta, great school, had a great time there. But it was like one of my safety schools. I never thought in my wildest dreams that I would go there. I never visited. I just literally just showed up on day one, and it was a great experience. But that's kind of how it worked. Like, you know, I kind of knew I was going to get into like, I hate the word good, but I was going to get into like a quote unquote like top school, but I was like rejected from all like the really top schools, like the Ivy League schools and like, you know, the Dukes and that sort of stuff of the world. And then I was kind of in that like, you know, next tier of top 25 school. But now it's just such a crazy random process. I mean, like kids who have like just unbelievable, I mean, like just like lights out credentials, you know, like literally nearly perfect SAT scores or like, you know, nearly perfect ACT scores or like a 4-point gajillion weighted GPA and, you know, just incredible extracurricular activities. I mean, just like look like a dream on paper and actually dream in the flesh as well, are not getting into like any of the schools that you would expect them to get into and are just, you know, kind of like ending up at, you know, one of their quote unquote safety schools, probably a school that they never thought in their wildest dreams that they were going to attend. But, you know, that's just the reality of college admissions these days. And as you've heard me say many times over, the most important part of any anti-aging skin regimen is using a proper sunscreen, namely one that's at least an SPF 30 and contains titanium or zinc or both. I couldn't be more excited to announce the launch of these two amazing Dr. Mudgil brand sunscreens. One is tinted, one is non-tinted, depending on what your preference is. I also have an amazing hydrating and moisturizing serum, which your skin is absolutely going to love. There's a link in the description below, which you can click to check out the products. You are going to love them as much as I do. You know, it's kind of a gut-wrenching process for these kids, for the parents of these kids. I mean, I'm fortunate that my daughter is like a super well-adjusted, chill person, is just kind of rolling with the punches that this year has brought. But, you know, I can certainly, you know, there are times where this, just as a human being, like, you know, these sorts of things are trying. And so what I have come to realize, you know, now that I'm turning 50 in a couple of months is, you know, just like for me, like where I kind of ended up at a school where I didn't think I was going to go, and I ended up having an amazing experience. And it actually, in retrospect, turned out to be the exact perfect fit for me. Everything happens for a reason. I'm a big believer in that. I'm a big believer in there's some sort of like order in this universe, and like there are things you may not realize why these things happen, but there's a reason why things happen. There's a reason why the universe kind of like points you in a certain direction. And, you know, for me, the universe has always delivered, but I've always been open to the universe delivering. And that's kind of like the same advice I give to my daughter. So my daughter applied to, I don't know how many, she applied to a bunch of schools. And she's quite literally on 7 waiting lists right now. She got into all of her quote unquote safety schools. We're committing to the University of Wisconsin in Madison, which is an amazing school, but we've actually never seen it because we didn't really think that that's where the story would turn out. But my wife and my daughter are going to go check it out. I hear beautiful things about it. I hear it's a beautiful town, wonderful school. I know it has a great school spirit, which is one of the things my daughter was looking for. It's obviously has great academics as well. So that's where the story is at the moment. But she's on several waiting lists, and the story may unfold in a different direction if the universe, delivers a different avenue for my daughter. But it's been like a strange process because we're kind of like ended up at a destination where we didn't think that was going to be the final destination. We thought other things were going to happen, and we were mentally preparing for a different outcome. But as I always say, and as I always tell my daughter, the Mudgills, we're going to make lemonade no matter what. I'm not saying this is necessarily lemons, but we're going to make the best of the situation. And truthfully, I do believe that it's the universe that will steer us in the right direction for whatever reason that may be. I'm going to share sort of a side story with you guys. A couple of weeks ago, I was at my little guy's basketball game, and he had a night game in a town out on Long Island. And I parked my car on the street, and we're watching the game, and a gentleman came in while we're watching the game and says, does anyone have like such and such license plate? And I was like, yeah, that's me. And he's like, well, I'm sorry to tell you, but I hit your car when I was pulling out. I went out, and my car was like, pretty badly damaged, as was the other gentleman's car. A very, very kind gentleman that he actually, came in, looked for me, and did the right thing. That's rare in this day and age. And it was kind of a bummer, like I love my car, and I was kind of bummed out for like a very brief second, because then I thought to myself, I was like, there's probably some reason that this happened. There's probably some reason where I wasn't supposed to hop in my car with my family like right after the game and head home. Maybe there was something that the universe was protecting me from, like a tragic accident or something like that. And I really, in my mind, created lemonade out of the situation. As much as, I haven't had my car for weeks, it's been kind of a bummer. But there's probably a reason why the universe made this situation happen and just like kind of held us back at the scene of the basketball game for a little while. And, it's the same sort of thing with all of these, college admissions and stuff. I know there's many kids out there there's many kids who got into their dream schools, applied early decision, and everything worked out. And, it's amazing. And I'm so proud of all those kids that, they hustled and, their dreams came to fruition. But, there's a lot of kids who are kind of like in this limbo where they didn't get into a school where they thought they were going to be. And, they're sort of not settling. Settling is kind of like not a very positive word, but their things have turned in a direction that they didn't necessarily expect. And for all of those kids out there, I am a firm believer in that things work out and everything does happen for a reason. As chaotic as this world may seem, the grayer I get, the more I realize that is truly the way the universe works, as long as you're open to that concept. And you could be a tremendous success no matter what college you go to, it may not be where you thought your college dreams would be, or things may have not worked out exactly how you intended them to, but that's rarely the case. Things never really kind of work out the way you planned them to. You just kind of have to roll with the punches, as my daughter is doing, and make lemonade when you can, because everything happens for a reason. You just gotta grind it out and make the best of every possible situation, because that will always invariably lead to the best outcome. So with that, I hope you all have a wonderful, restful weekend and are just ready to crush the week ahead. Gotta always make that lemonade. Let's get it.